Like if I'm the player that's down here and I've got my chest pointed at the ground right here, this golf club's gonna stay in the ground. So it's kind of my only source. If my chest is down, my only source to get the club out of the ground is to pull it out of the ground like this. It's almost like, if you think about sweeping at home, I haven't seen anybody sweeping like this when they're at home. If you're sweeping right in here, I might just put the golf club on the ground behind the ball and say, all right, I need to get this forward and I need to get it up. So I'm gonna have to move forward and I'm gonna have to start to extend from the ankle, the knee, the hip, and the rib cage to get this golf club moving up. I think a really cool checkpoint as well is watch the grip in relation to the club head. For the player that's here, the club head is gonna work higher than the grip. So see how long you can keep the grip higher than the club head.
The point here is to change your body motions so you have the ability to change that. That's the big point.
Instead of changing the arm, change the body to change the arm.
Yeah, like you gotta change the body first to have the opportunity to change the arm. It's like a prerequisite. All right, guys, in today's video, we're going over a topic that's so important, designed for you to hit the ball consistently more solid. To my right, Mr. Trevor Salzman. Appreciate you being here.
Good to see you, buddy. Always good to be here.
Thank you. Through the golf ball, Trevor, is one of the areas that a lot of golfers struggle with. And one of the things that I see all the time that I want to talk about today is the golfer's inability to extend their body and have the arms straight through and pass impact. Oftentimes we see a lot of high handicap players, this may be you, if you're watching, who struggle to hit the ball consistently day to day, coming through the hit with this arm over folding, sort of chicken wing look, club head passing the hands, and the inability to extend. And I know those two things are related to each other. Right?
Absolutely.
And so if you had a golfer come in, Trevor, who was struggling with that look, the body down, the arm folding, how would you guide them through sort of explaining how those work together, and then how can we start to train to improve that?
So I think this is a really important topic to understand, because ultimately we do need to understand that the golf club, once it reaches its lowest point, it needs to get out of the ground. We've got multiple ways to get the golf club out of the ground. I think we firstly need to understand, and a lot of times the player that pulls their lead arm into them, bends the elbow, pulls the shoulder back, bends the lead wrist. If you took that away, you might become a worse golfer if you don't change things in the right manner right there. Like if I'm the player that's down here and I've got my chest pointed at the ground right here, this golf club's gonna stay in the ground. So it's kind of my only source. If my chest is down, my only source to get the club out of the ground is to pull it out of the ground like this.
Yeah, it's so interesting, dude. Like, that's something that I never thought about growing up when I golfed, never like crossed my mind. But when you say that way, and once I learned that, that's a big light bulb moment. Like getting the club out of the ground, just to confirm that, we're saying like, obviously we make a downswing, the club head hits the ball, reaches its lowest point. And then it's got to come back up. And if your body's not in a position to allow it to come back up, this arm and club is going to be the piece that does it.
Something's going to get the club around the arc.
Very, very important.
Get it moving that way. And because of the chest staying down and, let's say, rotation, or the player that's trying not to early extend, that's what I usually see, is I see this person that's going, like,
chest down forever.
I'm not early extending. You're right. But then on the same sense is they want to keep their left arm straight. I've seen players go as far as getting like a tube or whatever that they put on their arm. You're going to break something if you don't change that. And so I think it's important to understand, how do we get out of the ground properly? So I think the first piece, I'm always going to say this, the first piece of it is we need to have the pelvis more forward than the chest, because this kind of puts us into what we would call a tilt, where now when the arms start to move around us, they're going to work up. If I change that relationship and I put the chest in front, my arms are going to continue to work down. So the first part of it is actually having the pelvis more forward than the chest.
Say that one more time. So if you have the chest in front of the pelvis, the arms keep working down.
So if I'm right here and I run my arms now, those are going to continue to work down.
Okay.
So my only way to create up is to pull up.
Oh, very good.
Okay, so I think that's an important piece to understand. Like that's the why.
Yeah.
Okay, and if we don't understand the why, we're not going to be able to change it.
Hmm.
So once we have the pelvis forward right here, here's where I would have everybody start. Hold the club in just your lead hand. You do not get access to your shoulder, your elbow, or your wrist, and you have to get the golf club off the floor. So I'm going to extend from the ankle, the knee, the hip, the rib cage. So I'm stretching all of these further and further away. So you can see my ankle's moving away from the foot, my knee's moving further away from the ankle, my hip's going to move further away from my knee, and now my rib cage is going to move further away from my hip. That's what gets my golf club out of the floor right there. Which puts me into extension and creates a runway or creates a route that I can swing the club around me.
Yeah. Dude, there's so many little golden nuggets that you just said in there. Let's say when you're hitting some shots or someone comes in, let's do a couple where you would kind of do the practice swings and hit a ball or two as if you were the student.
Yeah.
So like, hey, Trevor, I get it conceptually. That sounds good. I'm the one that's staying down too long, too much folding. How do I start to practice this?
Yeah, like we could even go as far as it's almost like if you think about sweeping at home. I haven't seen anybody sweeping like this when they're at home. If you're sweeping right in here, I might just put the golf club on the ground behind the ball and say, all right, I need to get this forward and I need to get it up. So I'm going to have to move forward, and I'm going to have to start to extend from the ankle, the knee, the hip, and the rib cage to get this golf club moving up.
So the club's moving up without any bending or folding of the arm and wrist.
Right.
All via you doing the extension of the lead side.
Yeah, to be able to train what this feels like. This isn't an actual, but this is a feel. Don't give yourself access to pulling the elbow, bending the wrist, pulling the shoulder up.
Yeah.
Feel like you're just boom.
And guys, if you're watching this, like so many, and we're going to clip a couple shots, probably 7 or 8 out of 10 conservatively of lessons that I give every week struggle in this area, of some part of this area. This is a big thing to be able to practice. So even if you haven't identified this as an issue for you directly, odds are it's going to help your ball striking be consistently better. And so this would be a really good thing to add in your practice. Trevor, let's do 1 or 2 practice swings and then clip a couple shots out whenever you feel ready with the same feel. So the lead, ankle, knee, hip, everything's up, and the arm is feeling like that's staying straight. And you're kind of doing that to like arms parallel to the ground-ish in the follow through.
I think a really cool checkpoint as well is watch the grip in relation to the club head. For the player that's here, the club head is going to work higher than the grip. So see how long you can keep the grip higher than the club head.
So the club head below the hands.
Yep. So the club head is going to stay below the hands.
Show us the bad one again, the follow through. Yeah, so the club head's way above the hands in the bad one, okay?
Yeah, and so that's one of the ones, that's what I like to use right there, and I just, I don't think you can rehearse enough of this right here.
So the hips are in front of the chest.
Yeah.
The arm and club are staying fairly straight. The lead side's extending. Well, let's clip one out there like that, Trevor.
Yep, so if I just did an easy one right here.
Yeah, just a little clipper. Yeah, beautiful. Look at that extension through the shot. Like that's the picture that you would see all the great ball strikers doing through the hit.
Yep.
Like you said, like literally can't get too good at that. Let me hop in there, Trevor.
I couldn't agree more. I think this is a huge skill.
You can't practice that too much or get too good at this through the ball piece. So, okay, we said to start with, I also like one thing I heard you say, Trevor, once was when the chest stays down, the club stays down.
Yeah.
So when the chest goes up, the club goes up, which I like that as well. So, okay, without me bending my wrist or my elbow, my job is to get the club out of the ground.
There
so obviously I'm
go.
feeling, okay, so the ankle, the knee, the hip, my rib cage and my shoulder.
Yeah, pull that rib cage away from the hip.
So hips forward of my chest. What did you just say, pull the what?
Pull the rib cage.
Yep.
So if you think about, here's your rib cage and here's your hip. So For most of us, we need to get more pressure forward, and so that starts to extend this lead side. So now pull that rib cage away from your hip right there.
Pull the rib cage away from my hip.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
so you'll feel a really deep stretch right there through your rib cage area.
I see so many golfers, the way you said that's so good, so many golfers get stuck down here and pull the club up this way.
Yep.
All day long. Okay,
all day.
So even if I'm kind of dragging that, feeling the same thing. So my hips are forward.
Yep.
My head feels like it's back over the golf ball.
Yep.
My lead side feels fully extended. Okay, rib cage away from the hips.
Yeah.
And I'm doing this to the point where the club head's going to be like below my hands.
Bingo.
The grip's above the club head.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've got a 7-iron here. Let me try a little half one first to start with. Same feels there. Okay. Hips in front of the chest. I'm going to extend the lead side. Club head stays below the hands. I got a little excited there with how hard I hit that, but that's about as good as I could strike it, and very, very straight, right? Very, very straight ball. Let me do another one like that. So even like that was probably too fast and too long. I probably want to start a little bit slower, but if you have this issue that you notice when you come through where the wrist bends and the arm bends, the point here is to change your body motions so you have the ability to change that. That's the big point.
Instead of changing the arm, change the body to change the arm.
Yeah, like you got to change the body first to have the opportunity to change the arm. It's like a prerequisite. Got it. Okay. So this lead, pull the rib. It's like I'm pulling the rib cage and the shoulder away from my hip.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay, I like that. I like that feel. So I can pull this up without my arm folding. Let me try and do some reasonable one here, not so hard. Hips forward. Got it. Whole lead side feels like it's going up. Club head below the hands.
That's A+.
Yeah, there's another really nice strike. Man, I could do that. I feel like I can love to just get used to doing that all day long.
Yeah.
So that's a really good point. I think a lot of players that struggle with that focus a lot of energy and time on trying to fix that. But the thing that's holding you back is your body's out of place. You have to make sure you get the pressure and hip forward of the chest. You have to make sure you extend to be able to have the room and space to do the arm extension.
Exactly.
Or else you could practice arm straight all day long and it's not going to change anything.
Yeah, it's going to stay the same. You're still going to bend the arm because you're down here with your chest.
So like if you're watching and if a golfer's tried to practice getting your arm straight forever and it hasn't worked, very high likelihood that it's this or something like this where the body's out of position.
I would say 99% likelihood.
Okay, almost for sure. Trevor, if you haven't checked out his stuff, we're going to link that all down below. YouTube videos, Instagram, online, in-person coaching. Awesome coach. You guys have any questions, leave a comment down below. If you could consider liking us, subscribing to the channel, sharing with a friend, that all helps. Appreciate you guys watching.